Nellie, your mother wants you.
Welcome to Weird Film Facts. Do you think the wholesome country film Little House on the Prairie, with its idyllic portrayal of pioneer life, meant a perfect behind-the-scenes reality? Think again. The actress who played Michael Landon's wife even revealed, the behind-the-scenes reality wasn't as clean as it seemed. In one shocking blooper scene, an unscripted conversation was even kept. Guess what me and Andrew found? Fact is, you're late. Little House on the Prairie depicted the essence of 19th century settler life in a warm and intimate way. But behind the screen, there were darker realities and shocking scandals. Today, we're going to unveil hidden secrets, bizarre behind-the-scenes stories, and unbelievable truths about this classic film. Join us as we explore the aha moments, starting with the unedited scene that pushed Melissa's buttons. Right from the start of the video, we revealed an unexpected, unedited blooper. Hilarious mistake. Do you remember that conversation? It was a completely spontaneous dialogue between characters.
Here's what me and Andrew found.
Where have you been, young lady? You're late.
Well, I was trying to tell you, me and Andrew.
Fact is, you're late.
This impromptu moment, where actors seemingly went off script, was kept intact in the final cut. This proves that even in carefully crafted classics, unscripted details can add authenticity, humor, and even charm, transcending the crew's control. It offers a raw, unpolished feeling that audiences seek. This also serves as a surprising opening for upcoming revelations about lesser-known truths about the film and the actors' off-screen experiences, especially those involving Melissa Gilbert. Michael Landon, widely seen as a symbol of purity and uprightness on screen, with his warm and relatable portrayal of Charles Ingalls, actually had a shocking real-life habit. According to Melissa Gilbert's memoir, Landon was one of the heaviest drinkers on set. He would often start his day with coffee spiked with liquor and continue drinking throughout the day. This completely contradicted the image of the exemplary father he portrayed on screen. This shocking truth wasn't just a rumor. It was recounted by Melissa Gilbert, who was close to Landon, in her memoir. She revealed that the production crew routinely polished off dozens of cases of Coors beer every day, with some particularly stressful days even dubbed 3-case days, due to the high volume of beer consumed. Surprisingly, Landon's heavy drinking was kept under wraps for a long time. Most people on set had no clue how much he was drinking. However, eventually the full extent of his alcoholism became evident. This truth painted a more complex picture of Landon's public image, revealing the pressure and harsh realities behind the glamour of a screen star. While Michael Landon's on-screen character often conveyed warm and morally upright Christian messages, his origins were entirely different. Michael Landon's real name was Eugene Maurice Orowitz, and he was of Jewish descent. Michael Landon was merely his stage name. He was born Eugene Maurice Orowitz on October 31, 1936, in Forest Hills, a neighborhood in Queens, New York. In 1941, when Landon was 4, he and his family moved to Collingswood, New Jersey. He attended and celebrated his bar mitzvah at Temple Beth Shalom. Despite portraying a Christian character on screen, Landon didn't find that in conflict with his cultural identity or beliefs. His father, Eli Maurice Orowitz, was Jewish, while his mother, Peggy O'Neill, was a practicing Catholic. He was once quoted as saying he took after his father's cultural identity, but didn't personally subscribe to any particular religious beliefs. He believed in God, but only identified as Jewish in a cultural sense. Michael Landon's family also faced their own hardships. Throughout his childhood, Landon constantly worried about his mother attempting to end her own life. He recounted that during a family beach vacation, his mother tried to drown herself, but Landon rescued her. The extreme stress from his mother's attempts caused Landon to struggle with childhood bedwetting, which was documented in the unauthorized biography, Michael Landon, His Triumph and Tragedy. Even more sadly, his mother had a habit of displaying his wet bed sheets outside his window for everyone to see.
I'm going to take it home and show your mom. When you keep going the way you are, you're going to be as good a teacher as Miss Beadle.
Michael Landon's lustrous, dark, curly hair was one of his defining features, helping him stand out and become an on-screen icon. However, few know that it wasn't his natural hair color. Landon's real hair color was a muted, ashy brown. He took his hair color very seriously and regularly visited a professional salon for dye jobs. However, as his hair began to gray, the set lights and natural sunlight sometimes made the dye take on a peculiar purplish hue. This required professional colorists to intervene and fix the issue. This detail reveals Landon's obsessive meticulousness about his appearance and his silent efforts to maintain the perfect, flawless on-screen image that audiences had grown accustomed to. It also demonstrates his professionalism and desire to deliver the best possible portrayal of Charles Ingalls, even if it involved unconventional beauty routines. Are you surprised by these facts about Michael Landon? Let us know by commenting yes or no below. Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura Ingalls, once considered Michael Landon a father figure after a family tragedy she endured. When Melissa was just 11, her adoptive father passed away by suicide. Although she was told at the time he suffered a stroke, Melissa still felt the absence of a father figure in her life. Once cast as Laura Ingalls, she greatly admired Michael Landon. The two grew incredibly close, and Michael Landon even told her he loved her like a father. They often engaged in all sorts of antics when the cameras weren't rolling. However, this close relationship faced a major shock and went through a turbulent period. Michael Landon divorced his wife to pursue a romantic interest on set, a makeup artist named Cindy Clarico. Melissa, whose own parents had divorced when she was 8, felt deeply betrayed by Michael's decision. She became so angry with him that she cut off all forms of contact for a long time. It wasn't until Michael Landon was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer that Melissa reconciled with him. After his passing at age 54 in 1991, she even named one of her children Michael in his memory, showing her respect and affection for the man who had once been a father figure in her life.
Here I've got a school and a family.
The bitter rivalry between Laura Ingalls and Nellie Oleson on screen was one of the show's most dramatic and humorous highlights. Both characters constantly clashed, argued, and caused trouble for each other, creating memorable sequences. However, in real life, Melissa Gilbert, Laura, and Allison Arngrim, Nellie, were the best of friends. The two frequently spent time together, even having sleepovers at each other's homes. It's truly astonishing how these two young actresses, who were close friends in real life, could so convincingly portray such hostile on-screen confrontations. Their excellent acting abilities allowed them to depict the rivalry with incredible authenticity and intensity in the film, despite their real-life close bond. This stands as a testament to their innate acting talent, leaving audiences both surprised and admiring.
You want to fight? I'll fight!
While Laura and Nellie, bitter on-screen rivals, were real-life best friends, the relationship between the Ingalls sisters, Mary and Laura, was quite the opposite. Melissa Sue Anderson, Mary, and Melissa Gilbert, Laura, disliked each other throughout the entire 9 years of filming. Gilbert once described Anderson as cold and bratty in her memoir. Furthermore, other cast members also found Melissa Sue Anderson icy and unapproachable. The tension was so bad that no one on set wanted to deal with the issues between these two girls. They constantly fought and bickered with each other for 9 years. The exact reason for this feud remains a mystery, as Melissa Sue Anderson has never offered her side of the story. Some have speculated that due to Melissa Sue Anderson's overly protective mother and sheltered upbringing, she may not have learned how to behave in a friendly manner towards others. Whatever the cause, this tension created a rather uncomfortable atmosphere on set, though it never affected the quality of their performances on screen. At just 15, Melissa Gilbert faced her first on-screen kiss, a highly significant scene for her character, Laura. What made it particularly special was that it was also her very first real-life kiss. This scene depicted Laura's marriage to Almanzo Wilder, played by Dean Butler. The age gap with Dean Butler, then 23, made Melissa extremely anxious and uncomfortable about kissing someone significantly older. Unsure how to handle the situation, she turned to Michael Landon for help. As a close friend and father figure on set, and also the director of the show, Landon listened to her concerns seriously. He brought the issue to the producers, and fortunately, they were receptive to Melissa's feelings. As a result, the scene was adjusted to a gentle peck on the cheek instead of a full kiss, to make Melissa more comfortable and preserve her innocence, fitting for her age. Not everyone respected Melissa Gilbert's innocence during romantic scenes, especially her very first on-screen kiss. While Melissa was anxious and trying her best to portray romantic scenes authentically, some of her close friends and colleagues saw it as a perfect opportunity to tease her. Allison Arngrim, Nellie, and Steve Tracy, Percival, Melissa's close friends, intentionally displayed romantic affection, even engaging in teasing makeout sessions, both on-screen and behind the scenes, just to annoy Melissa.
My mother will feel better knowing we were married by a doctor. Let's go.
Laura and her love interest Almanzo didn't have as fiery a love life as Nellie and Percival, who went out of their way to make their on-screen displays of affection as public and shocking as possible. Of course, Gilbert, being a young and innocent actress, felt utterly agonized by their emotionally insensitive cruelty. This was done entirely for fun and teasing, even though Steve Tracy was gay in real life. Despite being good friends, Steve Tracy was gay, and any chance of an on-set romance with Allison was out of the question. These jokes created humorous and sometimes awkward moments on set, showcasing the cast's comfortable and mischievous dynamic, while also adding a bit of playful drama to the behind-the-scenes life. In Little House on the Prairie, Willie Olson, played by Jonathan Gilbert, was Nellie Olson's younger brother. However, the shared surname between Jonathan Gilbert, Willie Olson, and Melissa Gilbert, Laura, was no mere coincidence. In real life, these two actors were adopted siblings. Sadly, Melissa revealed in her autobiography that the two grew estranged after the show ended. Despite a close childhood and being raised together, intimate relationships can fade over time. After Little House concluded, Jonathan Gilbert went on to earn an MBA in finance and currently works as a stockbroker in New York. Meanwhile, Melissa continued her acting career, even serving as president of the Screen Actors Guild from 2001 to 2005, and once ran for the U.S. House of Representatives. Though their paths diverged, hopefully one day they'll be as close as they once were. Michael Landon was not only a talented director and actor, but also a master of practical jokes and mischievous pranks on set. He frequently played pranks on the crew, creating a rare atmosphere of fun and relaxation.
You better hide this, he'll eat it.
Melissa Gilbert and Allison Arngrim, young actors, learned a few tricks from Michael Landon. In one instance, they pranked their colleagues by covering a toilet with saran wrap. One of Landon's most famous pranks was recounted by Rachel Greenbush, who played Carrie, the youngest Ingalls sibling, in an interview. Greenbush shared that Landon was a big practical joker. During breaks, little Greenbush and Melissa Gilbert would often go to the creek to catch frogs. Afterward, they would bring these tiny amphibious friends back to the set to surprise Landon. In a mischievous act of deception, Landon would take the unsuspecting amphibians and put them in his mouth. Then he would approach other cast and crew members with a sly grin, open his mouth, allowing the frog to leap out and send those around him into fits of startled panic. These pranks created a cheerful, relaxed atmosphere on set, contributing to strong bonds among the actors and making the filming experience more memorable than ever. And keep watching, because ahead are incredible blunders, from the smallest details to overlooked historical events. You won't want to miss it. Despite being known as a warm, family-friendly film suitable for all ages, Little House on the Prairie bravely tackled thorny and sensitive societal issues. The series was ahead of its time in addressing subjects that were considered taboo or too dangerous on television back then. Sensitive issues integrated into the show included sexual assault, drug addiction, racism, social prejudice, adoption, and disabilities. Very few television programs at the time dared to touch upon these subjects. This demonstrated the filmmakers' courage and vision in pushing television boundaries, making the series much deeper and more meaningful than its purely family facade suggested. This very audacity helped Little House on the Prairie forge a lasting cultural legacy, providing not just entertainment, but also education and reflection on life's complex facets. One of the most humorous and frequently discussed blunders in the film concerns Laura's pregnancy. It's a clear and amusing inconsistency in hindsight. According to Melissa Gilbert, who played Laura, and Lenny Parker, who runs a fan website, Laura was reportedly pregnant for an unusually long period, spanning over a year. She announced her pregnancy in a warm season. Yet by the following summer, she was still expecting. This temporal blunder, though a minor detail, became an intriguing point of discussion for fans, adding to the unexpected charm of the scenes and making the series feel more real, much like what sometimes occurs in other long-running TV shows. It also reveals that even beloved works have their own endearing flaws. One of the most blatant and amusing anachronisms in Little House on the Prairie is the unexpected appearance of a famous historical figure. In a Season 8 episode titled Wave of the Future, audiences were utterly surprised to see Colonel Sanders, the founder of Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, appear on screen. It's noteworthy that Little House on the Prairie is set in the 1870s to 1880s. Meanwhile, Colonel Sanders wasn't born until 1890, and the KFC brand he founded didn't emerge until 1952. This scene depicts Nellie's restaurant being converted into a franchise called Mrs. Sullivan's, but she quickly regrets it and tries to get out of the contract. Charles and Nellie help her by opening a rival restaurant, and Colonel Sanders appears to offer Harriet a deal to open her own chicken franchise. Colonel Sanders' temporal misplacement made audiences burst into laughter due to its charming and unexpected nature. This became one of the most talked about humorous highlights, showing that sometimes small anachronistic details unintentionally create unforgettable and unique moments in cinematic history. In a tense and dramatic scene from Season 5, keen-eyed viewers spotted a hilarious and blatant detail that almost made them laugh and cry at the same time. In the episode titled The Odyssey, a mysterious assailant attempts to push Albert off a moving train. This was intended to be an extremely tense and dangerous moment. However, amidst that intense sequence, an amusing blooper emerged. When the assailant threw Albert from the train, a clear dummy was used instead of a real person. This dummy was tossed from the train and landed gracefully on the grass. Meanwhile, the courageous stuntman gracefully rolled down the hill, surpassing the stationary dummy in a comical contrast. This obvious contrast between the dummy and the stuntman created a laugh and cry moment, revealing that filmmaking tricks are sometimes imperfect, and even adding a touch of innocence to older television productions. A subtle yet quite obvious continuity error that fans noticed in Little House on the Prairie is the inconsistent appearance of tree branches. In at least 2 episodes, The Monster of Walnut Grove and The Music Box, noisy tree branches can be seen and heard rustling outside the upstairs bedroom window next to the girl's bed. They swayed and made sounds as if there was a strong wind outside. Notably, in other scenes of the show, no such tree exists near the house. This suggests it might be the result of using stock footage or sound effects to create atmosphere for the scene rather than actual trees. Though a minor detail, this continuity error confused perceptive viewers and became one of the interesting behind-the-scenes secrets that fans often discover when rewatching the show. It demonstrates that even in the most beloved fictional worlds, small gaps sometimes exist. Another peculiar blunder that keen-eyed fans of Little House on the Prairie noticed is the appearance of the magic family quilt. This quilt seemingly had the inexplicable ability to freely change its location. It could be seen on Olsen's bed, on Charles's parents' bed, and even appeared on the beds of various other characters throughout the series. This quilt was primarily white with small blocks forming a design similar to a double wedding ring quilt. Additionally, other types of blankets appeared in different locations, indicating that the production team reused props for multiple scenes and characters. This wasn't just a continuity error, but also a small yet humorous detail, reflecting the production realities of those years when studios frequently repurposed props to save costs. For fans, this is an interesting highlight, showing that even simple props have their own stories. Like many other historical films, Little House on the Prairie also contained errors in costumes and hairstyles that didn't fit the period it depicted. Although the film is set in the 1870s to 1880s, audiences can still spot ahead-of-its-time fashion details. For example, in some episodes, the character Caroline can be seen wearing a bra, an item not invented until 1912. Furthermore, some women in the series had permanent curls typical of the 1970s rather than the 1880s. Melissa Gilbert, the actress who played Laura, also admitted that her hair was often too long and modern for her character. These details, though minor, became a gentle source of teasing for fans, showcasing fashion's leap across decades, and how historical reenactments sometimes aren't perfect down to every detail. This adds a layer of humor for viewers who appreciate historical subtlety and accuracy. Fans of Little House on the Prairie were very confused and curious about the conflicting fate of the character Albert. In a later TV movie based on the series, the story seemed to imply that Albert had passed away. However, in another episode, he was said to have grown up to become a respected doctor in Walnut Grove. This inconsistency has puzzled fans for years, To clear up this confusion, Melissa Gilbert, the actress who played Laura Ingalls, offered a wonderfully humorous and unique explanation. In a personalized video sent to a puzzled fan, Gilbert acknowledged the awkward situation and shared a witty, tongue-in-cheek explanation. She humorously suggested that Albert did indeed die in the movie, but then, in a bizarre turn of events, he returned to town as a zombie and became the Zombie Doctor. This one-of-a-kind explanation not only soothed fans' confusion, but also added a quirky and unexpected touch to the show's legacy, demonstrating the humor and ease of the actors themselves when looking back at their work. In the final episode of the series, The Last Farewell, a notable continuity mistake was discovered that captured the attention of sharp-eyed viewers. This episode is set in 1901, more than a decade after the events depicted in the series' final season. Logically, most of the adult characters who appeared in earlier seasons should have aged significantly, possibly into their 60s and 70s. In fact, the real-life Charles Ingalls sadly passed away just a year later, in 1902. Furthermore, the children who appeared in the final seasons, such as Carrie, Jenny, Nancy, James, and Cassandra, should also have grown into young adults by this time. However, strangely, none of the characters on screen seem to have aged significantly. It was as if time had stood still, freezing the characters in a perpetual state of youthfulness. This inconsistency is particularly evident when we consider Laura's voiceover in the Season 9 premiere, where she mentions it's the spring of 1887. Thus, only a few years later, the characters remain remarkably young. This continuity error highlights the suspension of time on screen, a detail fans couldn't miss, and became an interesting point for discussion on how films sometimes bend reality to serve their narrative. If you've learned something new and interesting today, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next Weird Film Facts videos. Like an old diary, each page of Little House on the Prairie not only tells the on-screen story but also reveals hastily written, surprising notes in the margins. The behind-the-scenes secrets, complex relationships, and even charming blunders have made the picture of pioneer life more vivid and authentic than ever before, much deeper than we imagined. Thank you for watching, and see you in our next cinematic discoveries.